Hello, and welcome to A Geek of Ice and Fire. Today, we're going to take an in-depth look at the rise and fall of one of the most popular TV series of all time, Game of Thrones, and how its spin-off series House of the Dragon saved the franchise from the disappointment of the final season. Game of Thrones premiered on HBO in 2011 and quickly became a cultural phenomenon, captivating audiences with its intricate storytelling, shocking twists, and larger-than-life characters. The show was a critical and commercial success, winning numerous awards and attracting a massive fan following. One of the things that made Game of Thrones so successful was its ability to keep audiences hooked with its intricate plot lines and sprawling cast of characters. The show was unafraid to take risks, killing off major characters and upending expectations. It also helped that the show had a high production value, with stunning costumes, sets and visual effects. With its unique blend of high fantasy, political intrigue and visceral action, Game of Thrones had the perfect formula for a compelling TV drama. Now let's take a closer look at each season of Game of Thrones and how they contributed to the show's rise and eventual fall. Season 1. The first season is based on A Game of Thrones, the first book of the A Song of Ice and Fire series. It set the stage for the epic conflict that would dominate the series, with the Stark and Lannister families locked in a struggle for control of the Seven Kingdoms. The season introduced us to many of the show's iconic characters, including Jon Snow, Daenerys Targaryen and Tyrion Lannister, and culminated in a shocking twist with the execution of Ned Stark. The first season was widely praised by critics and audiences alike, for good reasons. The show had a talented and experienced production team behind it. Showrunners David Benioff and D.B. Weiss were faithful to George's first book, and George the Big Daddy himself was involved in the writing process. In fact, he used to write a full episode a season. The show was supported by an experienced team of directors and producers as well, all contributing to a phenomenal first season. The first series received 4 Emmys, with Peter Dinklage grabbing the prize for the Best Supporting Actor for portrayal of Tyrion Lannister. Season 2. The second season of Game of Thrones continued to build on the success of the first season and maintained the show's high level of quality and storytelling. This season saw the conflict for the Iron Throne heat up as the War of the Five Kings was ignited by Joffrey's ascent to the throne. The season featured memorable moments like the Battle of Blackwater and introduced fan-favourite characters like Stannis Baratheon, Brienne of Tarth, Melisandre and Margaery Tyrell. A major factor that played a role in the continuity and popularity of the show in its second season was the continued growth of the show's fan base. The first season had already established a dedicated fan base who were drawn to the show's complex storytelling and compelling characters, and the second season continued to build on that momentum. The show was able to attract a wide range of viewers, from die-hard fantasy fans to casual viewers who were drawn in by the show's universal themes of power, family, and loyalty. The second series received 2 Primetime Emmy nominations, with Peter Dinklage getting a nod for the Best Supporting Actor category. Season 3. A huge chunk of fans list this season as the best one in the show, and frankly you can't argue it. Season 3 features some of the most iconic and memorable moments of the entire series. The Red Wedding, a landmark moment in television history, and its impact on the medium cannot be overstated. Most shows now strive to have its own Red Wedding. Furthermore, this season features some of the strongest character development of the entire series. Characters like Jaime Lannister and Theon Greyjoy undergo significant transformations over the course of the season, becoming more sympathetic and complex as a result. Other characters like Tyrion Lannister and Daenerys Targaryen continue to develop in fascinating ways, making them even more compelling to watch. It's worth mentioning that this season benefits from the fact that it is based on the first half of A Storm of Swords, which many fans consider to be the best book in George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series. This means that the season had a wealth of strong source material to draw from, allowing the showrunners to create a season that was faithful to the books. while still being compelling and entertaining in its own right. Season 4. Like its predecessor, this season is widely regarded as one of the best, if not the best season of Game of Thrones. You see, Season 4 is based on the second half of A Storm of Swords, which is, as I mentioned earlier, widely regarded as the best book in George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series. Like Season 3, this season is filled with memorable and iconic moments that have become fan favourites. This includes the trial of Tyrion Lannister, which showcased some of the show's best acting and writing, the introduction of fan favourite characters like Oberyn, the battle at Castle Black, and the epic trial by combat between Oberyn Martell and the Mountain. And the finale showed us that in the end, Tywin Lannister did not shit gold. Season 4 was peak Game of Thrones. Season 5. This season was the beginning of the fall of Game of Thrones. Season 5 marked a significant departure from the books, with many storylines being either condensed or completely altered. This led to a lack of coherence and continuity in the show's narrative. The changes were unnecessary and didn't do justice to the source material. This season featured a slower pace than previous seasons, with many episodes feeling like they were treading water rather than moving the plot forward. Furthermore, this season featured some lackluster storylines like the completely dumb storyline of Dawn. So ultimately, this season was not that good because it was a poor adaptation, and it didn't help that George R.R. Martin left the show after Season 4 because David and Dan were straying away from his intended outline. That being said, this season still had its share of standout moments like the epic hard-home battle against the White Walkers and the Night King. Season 6. This season saw a return to form for the series, with the return to more engaging and interesting storylines, and characters being given more compelling material to work with. On top of that, it featured some of the show's most thrilling and visually stunning action scenes to date, including the Battle of the Bastards and the explosion of the Sept of Baelor. This season is deeply loved by fans because several plotlines payouts were satisfying, and Daenerys finally sailed to Westeros. Season 7. This season was heavily criticised by fans and critics alike because it was rushed and lacked the careful development of previous seasons. Plot developments and character arcs that would have taken several episodes or even seasons to unfold in earlier seasons were condensed into just a few scenes, which left many fans feeling that the show was sacrificing depth for spectacle. It also didn't help that this season simply lacked logic. For example, how quickly characters were able to travel long distances, or how easily they were able to overcome seemingly insurmountable obstacles. Fine, I'm looking at you, Gendry. And hot garbage plotlines like the White Hunt and Dany saving the day with her 3 dragons, only to lose one to the Night King. This season completely and utterly went off the road. Season 8. Sayrak's shite is more pleasant, frankly speaking. After the controversial ending of Game of Thrones in 2019, many fans felt disappointed and disillusioned with the franchise. The show had been a cultural phenomenon, but its final season had been heavily criticised for its rushed pacing, lack of character development, and unsatisfying conclusions. As a result, many fans felt that the franchise had lost its way and were no longer interested in engaging with it. Game of Thrones was absolutely in the mud. But then something happened that The Ring did not intend. The announcement of a new Game of Thrones spin-off, House of the Dragon, sparked some renewed interest in the franchise. The new show, which was based on George's novel Fire and Blood, promised a return to the complex characters and political intrigue that had made the early seasons of Game of Thrones so popular. The first season of House of the Dragon was met with critical acclaim and fan excitement. The creators, Miguel Sapochnik and Ryan Condal, were praised for their ability to capture the feel of the early seasons of Game of Thrones. A key factor in the success of House of the Dragon was its focus on character development and political intrigue. Fans of Game of Thrones had always been drawn to the complex motivations and power struggles of the characters, and House of the Dragon continued that tradition by exploring my dynasty. The show's portrayal of my family, with its long history of madness and dragon-fueled conquest, was both compelling and tragic, drawing viewers in with its intricate plotting and well-drawn characters. As the season progressed, fans rediscovered their love for Game of Thrones franchise. By focusing on the elements that made Game of Thrones so popular in the first place, House of the Dragon has managed to win back fans who had given up on the franchise, and has given new hope that the world of Westeros still has many stories left to tell. See you soon in Season 2. Before you go, I, Rhaenyra Targaryen, the rightful heir of the Seven Kingdoms, order you to like and subscribe. Now off you go.